Good morning. If we haven't met yet, I'm Reverend Karen Rasmussen, your affiliate minister here at River Road. Our chalice lighting this morning is called A Community of Faith by Judith Quarles. At this hour, in small towns and in big cities, in single rooms and ornate sanctuaries, many of our sibling Unitarian Universalist congregations are also lighting a chalice flame. As we light our chalice today, let us remember that we are a part of a great community of faith. May this dancing flame inspire us to fill our lives with the Unitarian Universalist ideals of love and of justice and of truth.
Our welcoming words come from Reverend Scott Taylor. Look, friends, to the sky, to the stars that dance like fireworks overhead, this tiny globe on which we travel. Look to the horizon, the tree line, the expanse of wide open fields, to this loving, living, breathing earth that makes our living and breathing possible. Look at the faces that surround you and notice what a wonder it is that we don't have to walk this world alone. All of it is a miracle. All of it deserves our awe. May the light that we have kindled in this time that we share illuminate the astonishing preciousness of it all. Good morning, friends, and welcome. Welcome to River Road Unitarian Universalist congregation, where we gather in this place of community, spirit, and service, both near and far. We gather to celebrate, to witness, and to be a part of something made by each of us, yet bigger than any of us alone. As December begins, we so begin a new theme of exploration, the path of wonder. This is indeed a season of wonder and mystery, a season of stillness and awe. As we gather this morning, we make space for that sense of wonder and that abiding mystery which connects each one of us. Speaking of connection, you're invited now to connect with one another right here in this moment, whether here in person or if you're joining online, dropping a line in the chat if you're online, or greeting one another to your comfort level here in person. Won't you rise as you're willing and able? Hello. Now, as you make your way back to your seats, I invite you to stay risen up for our opening hymn led by our choir. Our hymn is Where Do We Come From? Please let us worship together.
Okay, good morning, everybody. We're not going to do too much explaining here, but the choir's going to line out the tunes. There's 3 different tunes you're going to see. The first tune uses the first 2 lines there. The second tune uses the middle line, the third one down. And then the last tune uses the last 2 words, if you want to find them. But as soon as you can, try to memorize it. So this will be something we're going to learn. It's going to get better and better as we go along. So don't be worried that it's not right the first time. The choir's going to sing, and then I'm going to invite the choir to sing. Then I'm going to invite you to sing it back, the first line, and then the second, and then we're going to do a round after that. But I'll explain all that later and stop talking. So, Shwan, give us a pitch. Y'all ready?
Totally.
All right.
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we?
Your turn.
Going?
Where do we come from? What are we?
Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery.
Great. Okay, now we're going to sing the whole thing through together, just like that, repeating the lines. And after that, we're going to do it as a round. So people up in the balcony and people on this side, you're going to start the round, which means you're basically just going to keep on singing it without stopping. And people on this side, you're going to come in a little bit later, and I'll point to you, all right? And we'll sing it through, and that'll be it. All right, we're going to try a little bit faster now, okay? 1, 2, ready? Everybody. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going?
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and mystery. Where are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery.
Cliff, where do we come from? Where are we going? Oh, he comes from Rockville, so at least he knows. He's got a place to come from. He's not sure the destination. I want to invite forward children, youth, or persons comfortable sitting on the floor for a time for all ages. I know I extracted some promises from the Chalice Lighters Choir, at least. Hi. Aren't you so happy to be up here again? You're so happy to be up here? We haven't done one of these where you come hang out with me up front in a little while. It's kind of awesome. Hi, Josiah.
Zoe.
Yeah. Oh, look, Jana came because she's comfortable sitting on the floor. Oh, thank you, Carol. Thank you, everybody. So today, I'm just gonna warn you at the beginning, it sounds like what I'm gonna talk about is super boring, but I don't think it is, okay? So I'm gonna talk about prayer. Josiah, lad. That's the thing about being the preacher's son, is sometimes you get to give your mom bunny ears. So I want to talk about prayer, and here's a thing that I have written about prayer. Can anybody act like, if you think of in a movie or a TV show what somebody looks like when they're praying, can you show me? Like, oh, like this, right? Like very, very quiet.
I see a graveyard.
You pray whenever you see a graveyard? That's a great idea, actually. I'll tell you why in a minute, but we'll talk more about that. Well, I think...
I want to honor the dead.
Because you want to honor the dead. That's right. Look, you're just saying this whole story for me, and I'm really grateful. So I think that prayer actually isn't about a very quiet thing where you sit and you think thoughts to yourself. I think prayer is about saying what you really yearn for out loud or in your own heart so that you can convince yourself to act and to live and to do stuff to help make that thing that you really hope for happen. And there's a great author named Anne Lamott. And she said, honestly, there are only really 3 prayers that anyone has any business ever saying in their lives. And those 3 prayers, oh, we've got a spot for you if you want it, and you've also got mom back up. Those 3 prayers are help, thanks, and wow. Just those 3. Just those 3. And when I think about that, and I think about my own life, I can tell you there are times when I have to do a big, scary thing, and I don't want to feel like I have to do it alone. And I say a prayer that's sort of like help. Honestly, I do it every Sunday morning. And one time, I went, you might know that we have a congregation, a sister congregation, Scotland AME Zion, that worships right down the hall in the fellowship hall. And I went to their service, and do you know right before the preacher stands up to preach, they have a whole person whose job it is to stand up and pray that the minister actually has something to say. It's true. And I was like, yes and yes, count me for that. And so there's a real prayer for help so that when we don't want to be alone, and it's not saying that it has to be God, but that people, something bigger than ourselves is with us. When you have to take a really big test, when you have a really big sporting event, when you're just kind of scared and you have to go into a scary place and you just want to feel like maybe you're not alone. And then there's thanks. Have you ever thought that the world was just so full of something great that the only word to say is thanks?
Yes.
Yeah? I actually think about it when I think about my dog. I do. My dog, Macy, your dog is Calliope, I know, and she's beautiful. And my dog, they both died. See, that's part of the gratitude, is that sometimes we're grateful and we're sad at the same time. And my dog, Macy, she's a little tiny Chihuahua mix. And she's real old and kind of weird. And Macy follows me everywhere I go. And sometimes the only prayer of thanks I have is that some creature in this world loves me that much. Have you ever felt a prayer of thanks like that?
You already have one.
I do. Yeah, Josiah, by the way, that's my son. He's reminding me I'm not exaggerating. Whenever we come home, Macy's scratching, waiting for us. And then there's a third prayer. And that's the one we're going to talk about more today, which is a prayer of wow. Imagine, for instance, looking up at the night sky, seeing all those stars stretching out into infinity in the universe, and all you can think is, wow, right? So today, as you head out into your Sunday school classes, and as you head out into the world, I want you to ponder what times you have, while making candles. That sounds like a help, a thanks, and a wow, if that was happening in my house. Oh, fake candles. Well, at least that's a little bit less terrifying. Fake candles.
It has wax on it, and it has a rope.
Yeah.
I burnt myself.
you might burn yourself making candles, and then it's a prayer of help. So, what I want you to think about, and we're going to scooch our way to Sunday school in just a minute. Oh, you burnt yourself on that wax. Oh, yeah, we're harming children today. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Is to ponder the times in your life that you have the chance to say a prayer, and it doesn't matter who hears it besides you, of help, of thanks, and of wow. And I'm so very thankful that all of you are spending this time right here with me. And now as RE teachers and you all head out to your classes, thank you truly for learning and growing together. We gather together not just in a cacophony of prayers for help and for gratitude and for wonder, but with the joys and the sorrows and the laughter and the tears that comprise an actual life. For all that you brought with you into this space, we invite you at any time in the service to light a candle for your own joys and concerns. There are a few I want to share with us today. Firstly, that our beloved former associate minister, Reverend Louise Green, her mother passed away last week after a long illness. Louise is doing well, and she's traveled to be with her family in Texas, and she certainly welcomes good wishes. I also lift up Joanne Balkovich, who will be in California for the entire month of December to support and care for her daughter Laura as she undergoes chemotherapy for a breast cancer diagnosis. Joanne asks that you keep both her and Laura in your thoughts and in your hearts in the midst of it all, as Joanne offers good care and companionship in the midst of much uncertainty. I also have such a heart today for Bob Coe, who is a River Roader here among us, who's just one of the kindest, humblest, most decent people I know. Bob was crossing the street on the way from his home to a OLLI, Osher Lifelong Learning Institute class, and was hit by a car in the middle of a crosswalk. That's the second River Roader just minding their business in a crosswalk to get hit by a car in DC just in the last 6 months. So my prayer is not just for Bob's healing, and he's doing very well. He hopes to be released from Suburban Hospital, if not today, then tomorrow, but also for attentiveness and a sense of each other's well-being so that we might simply move in the world in a way that allows all of us to thrive and to survive. For this and for so much more, we offer up our gratitude, our hope, and our shared yearning.
I invite you into a time of stillness and of presence for this morning's centering prayer, which comes from Rebecca Parker. Perhaps for a moment, the typewriters will stop clicking, the wheels stop rolling, the computers desist from computing, and a hush will fall over the city. For an instant, in the stillness, the chiming of the celestial spheres will be heard as Earth hangs poised in the crystalline darkness. And then, gracefully, tilts. Let there be a season when holiness is heard, and the splendor of living is revealed. Stunned to stillness by beauty, we remember who we are and why we are here. There are inexplicable mysteries. We are not alone. In the universe, there moves a wild one whose gestures alter Earth's axis towards love. In the immense darkness, everything spins with joy. The cosmos enfolds us. We are caught in a web of stars, cradled in a swaying embrace, rocked by the holy night. Babes of the universe, let this be the time we wake to life. Blessed be.
Hello, everybody up there in the balcony. How you doing? In this season of thanks, we give thanks for you. We also give thanks for our robust and vibrant congregation. Ours is a community of generosity where we do the hard but faithful work of building the beloved community together. We give so much to the life of the congregation, our time and our talent and our treasure, and dedication to the higher purpose that draws us together. And so this morning, we invite you to give as you are willing and able, knowing that you do so for the good of the congregation, but also for the well-being of each of us who call this congregation our spiritual home. You can give this morning by texting 73256. That number again is 73256. With the message RRUUC, plus the amount that you would like to contribute. Thank you for your generosity, and it is really good to see you all here today.
Did you ever see something beautiful out of the corner of your eye, at the very edge of your vision? Did you ever notice a passing shadow, or a bird overhead, or what the heck, a chance at love just outside of the conscious range of your experience, and turn toward it, only to see there the same old outlines of the same old world as you had known it a moment before? No shadow, no graceful creature, no particular magic, just life as it was, as it will be, beautiful and broken, blissful and mundane. Did you ever think you caught a glimpse of the sublime before you fell right back to earth? Did you ever have the feeling that you almost perceived something awesome or grasped something sacred? And did you ever have the feeling that even that almost awesome, almost holy of it all was enough to keep you looking, or at least wondering? I have almost seen a great number of unimaginable wonders. I have almost grasped the sacred before it slipped away. I have almost known what it's like to be in the presence of pure holiness, and I have almost heard the words of power that give true and lasting hope to those who grieve. Almost. But you can't hold on to it. Most of the time, not quite. What about you? My concept of the holy, of whatever it is that is worthy of our greatest devotion, never fully grasped, remains elusive and incomplete. My concept of the holy remains always full of holes. And yet I keep on looking, even if it is only in the looking that I can wholly come to grasp the sacred. I went to a good old-fashioned liberal arts college, and in that school, every single student who enrolled in the place was required to take 9 hours of theology classes and 9 hours of philosophy classes. Even the jocks, all of us, everyone. And among my myriad side hustles and part-time jobs on campus was one tutoring the Xavier University men's basketball team in their required freshman reading of Plato's Republic. I had a job. I got them through philosophy. They brought in enough money to the school through their games that persons of lesser economic value to the school, like me, could afford to go there almost, but not quite. Which is why I had to tutor them endlessly in Plato's Republic. Anyway, among the first things that the freshman philosophy students had to tackle from Plato's Republic, many of you know it, is the allegory of the cave. You maybe heard it. You may be annoyed by it or bored by it, etc. But allow me to elaborate in the most non-boring fashion I can come up with. It goes like this. Socrates, who is Plato's narrator, tells a story about a whole bunch of folks who have spent every hour of their existence chained to the wall of a cave. They've never known any view but the wall of this cave. And so its contours, its darkness, and the light that shimmers from the outside constitutes the whole of these people's experience. Picture these people facing the wall of that cave, perhaps feeling more than a bit dour about their lot, perhaps wholly satisfied with their field of vision, since after all, they've never seen anything else. Behind them, just outside the entrance to this cave, burns a great big fire, and this fire is basically unimportant except for the fact that all sorts of wonders and objects pass in front of it, casting their shadows upon the wall these poor saps are stuck looking at for all time. Say a frog hops by. The poor saps see the shadow of the frog and get all excited and ascribe all sorts of attributes to this shadow, when all they see is just the glimmer of that original hoppy creature. Perhaps the attributes they ascribe to that frog are accurate, perhaps not. Perhaps they have surmised that the frog has 4 legs and a big mouth, but they do not know from the place that they can see that it is green, nor do they know its size, nor the shape of its eyes, nor the number of its toes. All they have is a shadow of the real thing, always just over the shoulder, outside of their vision. And Plato, with the hubris common to many philosophers before and since, believed that it was the philosopher's job to unchain these prisoners from a world of glimpsing only shadows. It is the philosopher's job to show them not only the glimmer of the frog, but the frog, its froggy self in all of its bumpy glory, the real deal, because the philosophers, you see, these guys, almost all guys, sometimes imagine that they can tap the mystery with the sheer power of their minds and wrap logic and language around those dancing shadows. The only problem is, in my experience, Plato's pretty much wrong. It's a little harsh, I guess. But do you think either I or those basketball players on full scholarships were unchained from our delusions by the sheer wonder of reading Plato's Republic between frat parties and pizza slices in our freshman year of college? Perhaps not. And I'm not convinced that Plato or any other philosopher, let alone theologian or clergy person or anyone standing in any pulpit, has successfully wrapped their arms around the mystery either. I think even Plato's understanding of the holy is full of holes, and my point, which I do have a point, is this: that I do not think in this lifetime most of us ever wholly turn away from the cave wall. I think we rarely, if ever, see the frog face on. And yet, I also think that these shadows before our eyes, incomplete as they are miraculous in and of themselves. I think that what we see is only a shadow of the real deal when it comes to the most sacred things, and yet I think that shadow, that glimmer of the holy, that glimpse, the merest whiff of the sacred is in and of itself full of wonder and reason for gratitude and abundance and delight. You know, ancient stories point us to timeless wisdom, and the scriptural traditions of all three monotheistic faiths are full of images of the ineffable, undefinable, not quite clear, never graspable God. It was an essential theological point for the Christian forefather St. Thomas Aquinas, who pointed repeatedly to the ancient Hebrew story of Moses. I mean, after all, if anybody deserves to be unchained from the cave wall and bare, looking upon the face of the holy, pure and unshining and uncompromised, surely it is this guy. Surely Moses would get more than just a passing shadow. He parted a sea, he walked in circles for 40 years and pretty much earned some proximity to the one who sent him along all these journeys. And yet in the famous story, when Moses climbs Mount Horeb to stand before God, all he sees is a bush set aflame. Not the big guy himself. Nope. What Moses sees is a stand-in for the real deal. And over the course of the Exodus, the stories say God appears as a cloud, a pillar of fire, a burning bush, but never some face, never the real frog, so to speak. In Exodus 33:18, God is made to say to his dear good friend Moses, "Thou canst not see my face, for you shall not see me and live. Thou shalt see my back, but my face shall not be seen." So the Holy of Holies speaks with her back to her friend, just as the cave dwellers sit with their backs to the illuminating flames, and God's very best friend never did get to see her clearly. Even Moses gazes upon the cave wall. Even the holiest ones cannot see the whole story, cannot grasp the immensity of the mystery. And can we live with this unknowing? Can we revel in that mystery? Can we be delighted even though we are gazing upon the wall of a cave with glimmers of the whole of the holy? Albert Einstein once famously said, or is quoted as saying, "I want to know God's thoughts. The rest are just details." I love that line. And honestly, I love the sheer audacity of such a question. I want to know God's thoughts, says the greatest scientist of his generation. and I will not rest until I give it my very best try, though I know it is an impossible task. We speak of science so often as if it is, exact, as it is the proof and nothing more, the final product, the encapsulation of unwavering truth, standing before such wishy-washy endeavors as religion and spirituality and art as a solitary fixed point holding fast in the midst of the unknown. We speak of science as if it is the domain of the finished, the place where all the facts finally land and we can see them clearly and solidly, where mystery goes to die. But talk to an actual physicist sometime. There's probably one right here in this room. Talk to an astronomer, or a cell biologist, or an evolutionary psychologist. I bet we have one of those too. And just ask whether there is mystery, whether there is a vastness of the unknown inherent in their work. And even the most rationalist among them will pulse with delight, because as long as there is mystery, there is work yet to do. As long as there is an unknown, there is a hypothesis to be built which reaches ever toward it. As long as there are glimmers of something yet not fully seen, there is a reason to keep going, to seek, and to be utterly, faithfully confounded again. Neil deGrasse Tyson says that every great discovery is predicated on someone's willingness to ponder the unknowable. Not something you can figure out, but something utterly unknowable that you are brave and foolish enough to chase after anyway, even if all you will ever come to see of it is a glimmer or a shadow, a ghost in the machine. And why, pray tell, should religion be any different? If science can be captured by wonder, shouldn't we? I am in the religion business, I like to say. That much is obvious. I make the conventional noises, and I stand in this well-loved and well-weathered space, bearing the patina of over 6 decades of memory and hope. I show up day after day, year after year, to speak the particular poetry of faith. And why? Because I too have caught a whiff of the holy, a glimpse of the sacred, that I cannot totally name, cannot wrap my hands around, and because that glimpse, while full of holes and never complete, captures my whole heart, even when seen only from over the shoulder, in passing and on occasion. Are there perhaps such occasions for you, when the sacred came so near that you will never forget it, nor pin it down, nor be able to say exactly what it was that made it holy in the first place? At Arlington Cemetery, I once buried a Navy commander. I say to Commander Karen Rasmussen. I walked through a pouring rainstorm alongside his grieving wife, who refused to use an umbrella on the way to her husband's grave. Because a Navy man doesn't need an umbrella, she said, and neither did she. And we did not find the theorized particle of hope that makes death and loss stop hurting in the human heart. And no one prayer made it better, and absolutely nothing I said by that graveside was magic. But in her straight back, and in the raindrops pouring down over her firmly set jaw, in the horse-drawn catafalque and the gray, slick streets, in the sound of taps playing from a high, lonely place, there was a glimmer of what gets us through the worst, a shadow of the meaning that may come when all the pain is gone, and it was enough. Where do you glimpse the sacred? In your work, in your home, in your life, in this bleeding world? I still glimpse it here sometimes. Because on Sunday morning, a song, a word, a passing smile might alight on my soul or yours and point the way toward hope. Because dying people remember their friends from this congregation. Because this quiet sanctuary, when all the people have gone, still shines with the spirit you have left behind. I keep listening in this place for a whisper, incomplete and sublime, of the voice of the sacred? Where do you listen for the whisper? Where do you catch the merest whiff of the holy as it passes you by? Religion isn't really about finding the answers. It is certainly not about pulling the lever on a great big slot machine of life and praying for the big bucks. It is not about illuminating all those lost souls stuck staring for a lifetime at the cave wall of half-truths. Rather, it is about positioning ourselves so that an incomplete glimpse of the holy is possible in our lives. Everything we do here exists so that we can place ourselves within the reach of that half-glimpsed hope just out of our field of vision, that glimmer of loveliness glimpsed upon the span of oceans, which is and has always been enough to launch 1,000 ships, or at least the next step on your own journey. I mean, I don't want to be judgy, but if you didn't get a glimpse of the holy from that, I feel like there might be a bigger problem. Shwai, thank you. Our entire choir, the Chalice Lighters Choir, Brock doing the drums, Cliff doing his thing, music program, huzzah. Thank you. Thank you. I also want to lift up what a joy it is to have we three clergy here together in the chancel making each other laugh this morning. We try to pay attention to the service, but mostly we're just goofing off up here. And our amazing tech team. We got Dave, Marcia, and Ajay in the booth today. Every single thing we do together is an expression of how we want to be together. And you can find out all the information about what's happening this holiday season and beyond in River Road's e-weekly. There are a few things I want to highlight. Firstly, that you might have noticed the solar panels going in, right? Earth Ministry, thank you. I see you, Holly. I don't know, like 18 months, 2 years, it's been a long journey. My beloved faithful people who helped make this happen, and they look beautiful. We anticipate an on-time conclusion before the holidays. I am so, so grateful, and it'll enable us to live our values in a whole new and deeper way. I'm also grateful that we have been for years, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years, the years are blending together, faithfully keeping vigil every Friday night for our Black Lives Matter vigil. We're right there on the street with our signs, being faithful and naming the fact that all lives will not matter until every Black life matters in this country. We do the work because the work still needs to be done. And I want to invite you, if you've ever thought about joining that vigil, to consider stepping up during the holiday season. Our most faithful vigil keepers, of course, need vacation too. And you can find out more about the Black Lives Matter vigil and its longstanding history as a part of the congregation's ministry in the e-weekly. We also still need a couple more religious education teachers to help sustain the program when we come back from the holiday season. We had another 8 or 9 come forward just in the last 6 weeks or so, and if any part of you might be open to one Sunday a month, helping guide this congregation into its future and learn and have a whole lot of fun with these amazing kids that you just saw up here today. Really, one Sunday a month, we just need 2 more people. Holiday announcements. You can find out all about what's happening. We've got our holiday music service coming. We'll have the pageant at 4 o'clock on Christmas Eve. We'll have a candlelight service. We have our solstice service on the 21st, which is going to be beautiful and include a bonfire and a family event for all ages. We're also collecting gifts for Beacon House until the 11th. I think some of you have green pieces of paper on your seats. That shows you the kind of gifts that we need for Beacon House. You can also find it in the e-weekly and online. And finally, we just, listen to me sound cool and millennial, we just dropped our first ever River Road podcast this last week. Yes. Our podcast is called The Progressive Spirit, and this first edition of it features none other than Reverend Amanda and Natalie Shaw, our Director of Communications, and you can find it, I don't know, in podcast places. I'm sure the e-weekly will tell you where that is. And on the website, I don't know, wherever podcasty things happen, Natalie, that's where you can find it. And that's all my announcements. And now, as we prepare to take this light we have kindled out into the waiting world, may the truths that make us free, the love that casts out fear, and the hope that never dies, guide us and those we love and those we do not love forward together till the day spring breaks and all the shadows flee away. Amen.